5 calls from President Clinton, 3 calls from Tony Blair.
If we had missed that opportunity, today we would perhaps not have been alive as a state.
You can imagine we were sitting on crates of atom bombs and with our legs dangling.
Nuclear weapons can do certain things and cannot do certain things.
But for the moment, it's probably been a net plus for Pakistan.
So I would say that it is probably one of Pakistan's finest hours.
There is a category of a country that the world strikes at will. And there is a category of a country that it does not. The line between the two categories is not drawn by economy, by diplomacy, by alliance, not even by the strength of its military. It is drawn by one decision. Taken once. That changes everything forever. In May 1998, Pakistan made that decision.
भारत ने जो एटमी तजुर्बात किए, आज हमने उसका हिसाब भी चुका दिया है.
I vividly recall 11th of May 1998. The Prime Minister, Mr. Nawaz Sharif, and myself, I was Information Minister then, we were visiting Almaty in Kazakhstan together for the ECO, Economic Cooperation Organization Summit Conference. And that had just concluded on the morning of 11th, and we had just gone on a, shall we say, a touristic visit or a hiking visit to the hills in Almaty. It's like the Margla Hills or the Murray Hills. So it was just a relaxing excursion, and we were away from all communication, and we got messages, urgent messages from the military secretary to the Prime Minister. Because Mia Saab and myself were together, and we both like hiking also, that there's an important message. So we think we'll be finished in 2-3 hours. What important message can be there? Because the conference is over. But anyway, when we got down from the hills, because that was not the age of cell phones, we couldn't communicate. The MS informed, sir, India has gone nuclear. And we were astounded, we were flabbergasted, we were shocked. It was a complete surprise, out of the blue.
At 15:45 hours, India conducted 3 underground nuclear tests in the Pokhran range.
The timing of the Pokhran tests may have come as a shock, but Pakistan had been preparing for this eventuality for a long time. More than the tests themselves, the rhetoric coming out of India after the Pokhran II was even more disturbing for Pakistan.
On 18th of May, there was a statement of the Deputy Prime Minister of India, the Home Minister, Mr. L.K. Advani, which was a very arrogant statement. And it was almost threatening and bullying Pakistan, that we have become a nuclear power now, and Pakistan should now reconsider its Kashmir policy. They linked the nuclear program with Kashmir policy, and they almost threatened us. And we were going, I think, together to some event, maybe the National Defense University or whatever, Mia Saab and myself. And so it was, he said, have you seen today's statement? I said, sir, I've seen it. But don't worry, within a week we'll even the score.
Islamabad was offered every reason not to respond. Aid packages, investment guarantees, diplomatic cover.
5 calls from President Clinton, 3 calls from Tony Blair, and other calls from other people, even Japan and other countries also. And basically, the American president was putting polite pressure, no threatening, and saying that no, Pakistan should take the moral high ground.
हमें बहुत जोरदार तरीके से कह रहा था कि आपने एटमी धमाके नहीं करने, और दुनिया के बाकी लीडर भी रोज मुझे कई लीडरों के फोन आते थे कि आपने धमाका नहीं करना, हिंदुस्तान ने कर दिया लेकिन आपने नहीं करना.
So it starts with polite pressure, then it starts with some dangling the carrots also. You know, Mr. Prime Minister, you should take the moral high ground. You will be remembered as a peacemaker. And we will invite you to the White House for a state dinner. And we are willing to give you $5 billion in aid. 1998, $5 billion, which is worth, I think, about $25 billion now.
क्लिंटन $5 अरब की पेशकश की मुझे, ये रिकॉर्ड की बात है। शायद हमारे वजारत खारजा में, फॉरेन ऑफिस में इसका रिकॉर्ड मौजूद होगा।
I went to China on a secret visit to brief them, to tell them that this is what we are going to do. Not that we were asking for any permission, but China, we expected that we will need China's help when any difficulty arises in the United Nations, because China was a permanent member of the Security Council, and China also was the very closest friend of Pakistan. So I went on a secret visit, and after briefing their leadership, I returned.
The threats were explicit too. Diplomatic isolation, cuts on aid, sanctions that could cripple the already troubled economy.
At that time, we used to have jumbo jets, 2 floors. So I was sitting on the upper floor. Then an air hostess brought a message that your colleague has sent this message. It was an anonymous letter handwritten by somebody. Mr. Shamshad, do not continue what you are doing. Otherwise, you will be killed, baked and roasted alive.
This was one of the gravest dilemmas that Pakistan had ever faced in its history. The price of testing was made obvious. The price of not testing was left for Pakistan to imagine. While the whole world waited with bated breath, Pakistan had to decide, and fast.
Dr. Ashfaq Ahmed Saab, he was the chairman of the Atomic Energy Commission. He was not well. He was in Canada. He was asked to come back. He came back along with Mr. Samar Mubarak Band. And both these scientists met Mia Saab on the 16th of May. And they were conveyed that we have to test. How long will it take? They'll say like about 10 to 15 days. Mia Saab was in a hurry. He said, no, do it in a week's time, as soon as possible. But they said, we will expedite the process.
Green signal from the top was one thing, but to actually detonate the nuclear devices covertly and safely involved meticulous planning and collaboration at an unprecedented scale.
So on the 20th of May, we were given the go-ahead, and we had packed up all the stuff that we had to take to Chagai. All the nuclear devices and all the other equipment and all the people were ready. So on the 20th of May, we left from Islamabad for Quetta, of course, primarily. And the hardware were sent in other planes to Chagai before our flight. And our flight was delayed at Islamabad airport when PIA announced that the flight has been delayed because there is some technical fault. We smiled because we knew our hardware had reached Quetta airport and they were unloading it, so they didn't want this flight to go there as yet. And then we reached the Quetta, and then from there we straight away left by road for Chagai. There was we left by helicopter for Chagai, and which was about a 1.5 hour flight. It's a long distance from Quetta. And there were, I think, 1 or 2 helicopters, and the atom bombs were created and put inside the helicopters, and there was hardly any space left for my people to sit on. So you can imagine, we were sitting on crates of atom bombs, and with our legs dangling, and some people were squeezed on the sides and standing during the flight. So with the grace of God Almighty, we safely landed at Dalbandin, and from there was a road journey to the site. And there was no proper road over there. It had been deliberately left unmarked so that the satellites don't pick up the roads leading from Dalbandin or other cities to the test site. So we drove through dry nalas. There were rocks and boulders over there, and it was a very bumpy road. So we left in 4x4 vehicles, and our hardware, all atom bombs, etc., they were all dispatched. So we reached the site.
While the clock was rapidly ticking, everything hinged on a small team of Pakistani scientists in one of the remotest corners of Balochistan. They reached the test site on the 27th.
And some of us slept out in the open under the sky. And so we saw a lot of satellites going round and round over our site, and low altitude satellites, because when a satellite is up there, the rays of the sun strike it and it shines. Even at the pitch darkness, you can see the satellites. So I think there were 5 or 6 satellites in different orbits, maybe of different countries, I don't know, but they were watching us.
And then on 28th night, 27th and 28th May night, I got a telephone call from the GHQ, General Chagai, DG Military Operation. He called me about midnight. I was in the office because the special situation, we were mostly in our offices. So I got the call. He said, sir, we have intelligence reports suggest that India and Israel, they are going to attack our nuclear installations in Balochistan. And they had seen some Indian and Israeli squadrons on some Indian air base. So I said, what should I do? They said, well, sir, first your Foreign Office is the first line of defense. We thought we should let you know. So I said, fine. I informed the Prime Minister that this is a message that I have received from GHQ, but now I will alert the people concerned. And what I did was I summoned the Indian High Commissioner. Satish Chandra was his name. And so it was about 12:30 at night. So I told him that this is the information that we have got, but please tell your government if there is any such thing that your people are planning to carry out any attack, then there will be consequences of unimaginable magnitude. We are all deployed, I told him. So he went back. Then I called the Chinese ambassador. And I knew that Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu was the Prime Minister even at that time. The present Prime Minister, he was Prime Minister of Israel at that time also. So I told the Chinese ambassador that he is visiting China. He is tonight in China, so please go. First, you should make note that we have this threat that has been conveyed to us. Second thing is that you should, even if you have to wake up Netanyahu, check with him whether there is any truth in it. So this is the message I gave him. Then I called the American ambassador, and I told him that this is what has happened, so please you contact the Israelis and make sure that this does not happen. So I called Russian ambassador. So in any case, before 5 o'clock in the morning, I got responses from everywhere. Indian High Commissioner told me that, no, we have not planned any such thing. So he gave the assurance that there is no such thing. So similarly, I had left a message for Kofi Annan, the UN Secretary General. So a message came from his office also that there is no such thing.
Then I said to Ashad, okay, it's 3:15. So everybody has left the site, so we are ready for it, so please go ahead. So he said, should I do the countdown? I said, countdowns are done by conventional, by other foreign people, by the Westerners, but we start counting reverse from 10 to 0. But we are a Muslim nation. Let's say Allahu Akbar and press the button. Just say Allahu Akbar and press the button. So he did that. And 35 seconds had elapsed and nothing happened. So after 5 more seconds, I put my hand here and I could count my pulse, feel my pulse, and I was. It was a very rapid pulse. After 5 seconds, we had felt a huge earthquake jolt, very sharp jolt of earthquake. The ground really went up and down, big shock, and it was a sharp shock. And earthquakes have, the gradual shocks. This was a very sharp single jolt, and then looking at the mountain surface, it was a very dark, steel grey dark color. Over the ages, millions of years, the mountain rocks had been burnt by the sun. It was basically calcium carbonate rock. So it was black, and it started turning white.
ये वो अजीम लम्हा था जब पाकिस्तानी कौम का एटमी क़ुव्वत बनने का ख्वाब हकीकत में तब्दील हुआ। आइए आप भी पाकिस्तान टेलीविज़न की विसातत से अपनी इस अजीम और तारीखी कामयाबी के अजीम लम्हे के गवाह हों।
5 कामयाब एटमी तजुर्बात किए हैं। खुदावंद करीम का लाख लाख शुक्र है कि उसने हमें इस काबिल बनाया कि हम जवाबी तजुर्बात कर सकें। हमने जो कुछ किया वो पाकिस्तान के अवाम का फैसला है।
I remember on 28th of May, I got a call on the green line, secure phone, Prime Minister. वो शायद से मुबारक हो, we have tested. मियाँ साहब, मैं कहा बहुत मुबारक हो आपको. And he said, I didn't sleep all night. I was so tense, I was so worried something would go wrong. Because he had said that India has tested 5 times, we'll test 6 times.
So we thank Allah. We bowed our heads on the ground for sajda, and the ground was 55 degrees or even more. We burnt our foreheads. We celebrated. We had we had a few packets of biscuits, saltish biscuits with us. We shared a biscuit each and drank some mineral water in small bottles. It was lying in the sun, very hot, but we drank that hot water and thanked Allah for the success.
I would say that it is probably one of Pakistan's finest hours. We took the right decision at the right time, in the right manner, taking the people of Pakistan along.
Well, it wasn't unexpected when it happened because there'd been the Indian tests. It was going to be hard for Pakistan not to respond to those. So in that sense, when it came, people were prepared for it. It was an important moment because there'd been discussion after the end of the Cold War, which would be, say, 1991, that we'd survived the nuclear age and that the risks of major war had now declined. Now it was clearly optimistic, over-optimistic in relation to Russia. But anyway, that was the view at the time. So what this moment confirmed is that there was another nuclear age.
A demonstrated deterrence in the face of a nuclear threat, which was demonstrated by India on May 11th, was compulsive on Pakistan to respond. Any other options would have meant that your capability would have remained in doubt and that deterrent effect would not have had, which was the desired outcome of having a nuclear weapons.
India is clearly a much stronger country now with conventional weapons as well. The last war, major war, in 1971, ended with the East Pakistan turning into Bangladesh, and that left Pakistan as a whole weaker. So, and that was the point at which your government decided that they wanted to be a nuclear power because they'd seen the weakness that resulted. And India too decided at that point that it wanted to be some sort of nuclear power because they'd seen that the United States in some ways might be supporting Pakistan. So I think the reason why countries go nuclear is they can't depend on anybody else to look after them.
The cost arrived within hours. American sanctions under the Glenn Amendment.
Pakistan lost a truly priceless opportunity. to strengthen its own security, to improve its political standing in the eyes of the world. And although Pakistan was not the first to test, two wrongs don't make a right. I have made it clear to the leaders of Pakistan that we have no choice but to impose sanctions pursuant to the Glenn Amendment, as is required by law.
Suspension of multilateral lending, a foreign exchange crisis that froze the foreign currency accounts and destabilized the economy.
I think we were expecting the sanctions, and we are very grateful at that time to Saudi Arabia for the sanctions relief, because they said you will get the oil free of charge, no payments, because otherwise it was there.
The decision to test had broad national support, but it was not unanimous. A counter-argument against the bomb was made inside Pakistan before Chagai, and it is still being made.
There are 190 members of the United Nations, and only 10 of them, including Pakistan, have the bomb. However, 180 countries don't have the bomb, and they are not under attack. If Pakistan has good relations with its neighbors, it will not need the bomb. We don't need the bomb for Afghanistan, in spite of the fact that Afghanistan continues to attack us. With India, well, India started the race, but then India does not threaten Bangladesh with nuclear weapons, and India is not to be excused. However, India lost as a result of Pakistan making the bomb and losing its superiority in terms of conventional arms. Pakistan can be safe without nuclear weapons, and I believe that possessing nuclear weapons, in fact, endangers its security rather than increase it.
I had nuclear debates with some of these gentlemen who had a different view. I said that nuclear weapons are not good, they are expensive, they are unusable, they are immoral. You know, all the arguments we have from that lobby. I said I would agree with that argument. If Pakistan was located in South Pacific, we were surrounded by Australia or New Zealand or some, other Fiji, or a nice, placid, tranquil place. The geopolitics are very peaceful. We are located in South Asia, which is a very nasty neighborhood, surrounded by different kinds of people who are out to go for you, gobble you up, dominate you, bully you. And we have not started it. We are responding to it from own defense. We are the only country in the world after World War II which was partitioned as a consequence of foreign aggression. No other country has suffered that.
The experts agree that nuclear arms don't mean a total lack of war. Pakistan has fought and continues to fight in every decade since. It fought at Kargil in 1999. It mobilized along the eastern border for 10 months in 2001. It absorbed Mumbai in 2008 and the pressure that followed. It traded strikes at Balochistan in 2019, and in May of last year, the largest aerial engagement South Asia had seen in over half a century, fought across a front line that ran from Kashmir to the Arabian Sea. In every one of those crises, the ceiling held.
What one can look back to with hindsight is that the pressures to escalation were contained. Both sides realized that what was ever at stake in particular moments in that conflict was not going to be worth nuclear war. Now, whether that will continue remains a question. But what I think it shows is that the fear of nuclear war remains very strong, and therefore does provide some way at the moment still of containing escalation.
In every one of those crises, the highest level of escalation was a line neither side was willing to touch. Not because either side trusted the other, but because both sides knew with absolute precision what touching it would cost.
Nuclear weapon is not meant to use, it is meant to deter. And in the case of Pakistan, it was meant to deter India's conventional superiority, India's dominance, and India's attempt to isolate Pakistan. And today, as we speak now, you can see that were it not for nuclear deterrence, India would have been bullying Pakistan much more, and Pakistani response are basically that level of confidence which was demonstrated really a month ago, in the same month, a year ago. So yeah, this is the debate that has remained throughout the nuclear age and will remain even after that.
I think that given that Pakistan doesn't have the strength and depth that India does, it's not surprising that it opted for nuclear weapons, especially as India was itself a nuclear power and tested at the same time. So I don't find it surprising, and you can see the rationale, and you can argue that it has probably helped Pakistan in its security. The issue, as I've said a number of times, is at some point, if it may not help enough, and then you're in real trouble. But for the moment, it's probably been a net plus for Pakistan.
To understand the cost of not having a nuclear bomb, we can take a look at the countries that did not have one. Iraq dismantled its weapons program in the 1990s. It was invaded in 2003 on the suspicion that it had not. Its president hanged. Libya surrendered its program in 2003. 8 years later, Muammar Gaddafi was dragged out of a drainage pipe and shot. Ukraine inherited the world's third largest nuclear arsenal from the collapse of the Soviet Union. By 1996, under American and Russian pressure, it had returned every warhead to Moscow in exchange for a paper guarantee from the United States, the United Kingdom, and Russia. The paper was tested in 2014 when Crimea was annexed and torn apart in 2022. And then Iran, 40 years near the threshold, without ever crossing it. An agreement signed, inspections accepted, none of it mattered. In June of last year, and again this February, Iran's facilities were struck, its scientists killed, its military leadership dismantled by powers it could no longer credibly deter. 4 countries, 1 pattern. The countries that gave up the option were not rewarded. They were recategorized as countries about which decisions could be made.
When you look back, it becomes very, very obvious that those who gave up the nuclear weapons, the fate of them, as you already mentioned, is there. And those who did not give up the nuclear weapons, you did not mention North Korea. You can see how the example of North Korea speaks up. So that actually makes the case as to why the world, as it evolved in the 20th century under the Non-Proliferation Treaty world.
Power in the end is a conversation. There is the slow, formal conversation that powerful states have with each other, of summits and communiques, of red lines respected, of disagreements managed over decades, without anyone reaching for the worst option. On the 28th of May, 1998, Pakistan paid, in advance and in full, for the right to be addressed in the first language rather than second.
What we are today, as a major Muslim middle power in the most strategic part of the world, playing a pivotal role either in defense or in diplomacy, is the reason is because we have the bomb, we are a nuclear power. People respect us, people take us seriously, and people look up to us for leadership. That is the difference. It is, you are in a different league altogether. Otherwise, you would be among more. There are 193 members of the UN, you would be one of them, many. No, our voice carries. Today, as we speak in 2026, Riyadh, Tehran, Cairo, Ankara, Beijing, Washington, Moscow, Pakistan matters. We are bringing together Trump has confidence in Pakistan. The Iranian leadership is confident in Pakistan. They are talking to each other through Pakistan because they have trust in us and our credibility is there, and also because they feel Pakistan mein jaan hai. Pakistan has that strength, that military power, that will and skill to do the needful, whether in peacetime or in wartime. So without the bomb, no, you would have been a different year. We thank God for the right decision at the right time. And I think the people of Pakistan should be proud of that. And that is why that decision was so necessary. And today we stand vindicated by history and by events because of that decision.
The bomb did not make Pakistan wealthy. It did not make Pakistan safe from every threat. It made Pakistan addressable in the first language. It made Pakistan equal among powers.